Torrullin had been sitting an hour, also nursing his one drink, tepid ale, and he was stared at, sized up. But as each challenger met his gaze and saw what was in his eyes, they turned away. They left him alone and nudged newcomers aside. The bartender had lumbered up to bring his ale and asked what he was doing in Two Town. "I am waiting for someone." The man nodded. Everyone said that when they first came, attempting to prove their reduced circumstances were temporary, that they would not long be in this hole, that they were not alone. Someone was coming. Before long, they were like everybody else. But a look in those grey eyes gave him pause. Perhaps this one was different. He shrugged. It was no business of his. He had ambled off after warning he would stand for no violence in his domain. "The bridge is leaning." "Smacker, man. It's what that... orange eyes." Snatches of conversation. Fatigue caught up with him on the outskirts of the city, but he waited. McSay would arrive late tomorrow if he made good time, so the night was not for him. Yet he waited. "It's the rats, I tell you. They cause disease." "Cleaner, what with the rain?" "Eat the dogs any day now." "2 bronze. What about..." Torrullin rose, causing an island of silence around him. Gradually the whole bar fell into uneasy quiet. The waiting was over. He could feel it. His hand strayed to the hilt of his sword. "What's the matter with him?" someone asked. "Overheard him telling Scarface he waited for someone," another sniggered. "Obviously not a friend," another said. "Haha, are they ever?" his friend laughed. 2 entered and came down the short flight of stairs into the basement. Silence, then, was absolute. They appeared no different in dress, but one glance at their faces, and the crowd knew the strangers. They were entrenched in the unconscious, millennia of memories. Torrullin whistled through his teeth. He fought these creatures before. His whistle, soft as it was, caught their attention. Dark eyes swiveled in his direction. They noticed his hand on the hilt of his sword, and grinned, bringing forth their yellow blades. Scarface shouted, "No fighting in here!" One launched his sword through the air and pinned the bartender through his throat to the wall behind. A gurgling sound erupted, and Scarface rolled his eyes, forever sightless, in his scarred head. It paralyzed the crowd. The other advanced on Torrullin, his sword up in the classic defense grip, his eyes alight with challenge. Torrullin's blade hissed as he pulled it smoothly from his scabbard. "This one is not afraid," the Darkling said to his companion, who retrieved his blade from Scarface's throat. He continued to Torrullin, "You will die slowly." It was not time to tip his hand. They did not know he was a sorcerer, and he preferred it that way. He preferred to keep it from the people of Two Town in particular. He brought his blade up and kicked his table and chair aside, clearing a space. He undid the clasp to his cloak and tossed the garment onto a neighboring table. The Darkling grinned in anticipation. His companion sat on the bar, holding his sword, watching with interest. "Come, human, play with me," the Darkling taunted. But Torrullin held his stance, waiting for it to make the first move. First rule of swordsmanship: feel your opponent's strength. "You're right. He's not afraid." The other laughed. "He will be." The Darkling lunged forward,